Drivers working for Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash are planning to strike on Valentine's Day to fight for better working conditions. The coalition of drivers said they will refuse to provide rides to and from airports in at least 10 U.S. cities on Wednesday. The strikes are taking place in Austin, Chicago, Hartford, Miami, Newark, Orlando, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Providence, and Tampa. While Silicon Valley and Wall Street take an ever-increasing cut of driver earnings, they're raising rates on passengers and expecting consumers and workers alike to accept their increasing corporate greed. Justice for App Workers, a group organizing the protest, wrote in a news release. Uber seemed to hand-wave away the workers' concerns, saying that strikes have rarely had any impact on trips, prices, or driver availability, USA Today reports. Lyft appeared responsive to some of the drivers' concerns, announcing last week that its drivers would make a guaranteed 70% or more of rider fares after external fees each week. 1916, Greg Graziosi. App drivers in the U.S. called for a strike on Valentine's Day, refusing any trips to airports in numerous U.S. cities on Wednesday. They were not the only drivers striking, however. Drivers in the UK working for companies like Uber and Lyft also said they'd strike. Those drivers said they plan to strike between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m., local time. Delivery Job UK said that approximately 3,000 drivers were intending to strike on Wednesday. 1845, Greg Graziosi. The Valentine's Day strike by Uber, Lyft and other app drivers comes just 1 month after the National Labor Relations Board cemented a ruling that makes it more difficult for companies to classify their workers as contractors. Gig workers and other contractors are generally not eligible for company benefits like health insurance, and are not covered by federal laws dictating minimum wages and overtime pay. The new ruling forces employers to consider workers employees, and not contractors, if the worker is economically dependent on a company. Meredith Kirschenbaum, the principal at the Goldberg Cohn law firm, offered the following commentary on the strike as it relates to recent ruling. The Valentine's Day collective action is coming at an advantageous time for gig economy workers, as the test for classifying a worker as an independent contractor, rather than an employee, is getting more demanding. Just last month, the U.S. Department of Labor released a final rule making it easier for gig economy workers to claim they are employees, a door that was also opened last June in an NLRB case doing the same. The distinction is critical because while independent contractors do not have federally protected rights to strike or engage in work stoppages, employees do. It will be particularly easier for ride-sharing drivers who work exclusively for one app to claim they are employees, and that risk may be heightened for companies like Lyft if they treat drivers more akin to employees, including arguably by guaranteeing a minimum weekly salary for its drivers. Justice for App Workers, the group that organized Wednesday's drivers' strike, said drivers were afraid of being unjustifiably deactivated from the gig apps. For non-gig workers, being deactivated means a worker has been removed from an app. While it is obviously necessary for apps like Uber and Lyft to remove workers from the app, workers fear that bogus user reviews, or just human error, could cut them off from a needed source of income. Drivers for both Uber and Lyft called a strike last February to protest unjust deactivations, but the issue has remained a cause of worry for the workers even still. 1551, Greg Graziosi. Justice for App Workers is leading the broader driver strike across the U.S. The group says it represents more than 130,000 drivers across the country. We represent more than 130,000 drivers and delivery workers who keep communities running, getting our neighbors what they need and where they need to go. Together, we are taking on the multi-billion-dollar app industry to win dignity at work. This means living wages, a safe working environment, an end to unfair deactivation, quality healthcare benefits, reliable bathroom access, and the right to form a union, the organization said on its website. While Justice for App Workers is pushing the broad strike, smaller organizing efforts into Los Angeles, San Diego, and Las Vegas, among other cities, are holding strikes in solidarity with Justice for App Workers. 1512, Greg Graziosi. Thousands of U.S. ride-hailing workers plan to park their cars and picket at major U.S. airports Wednesday in what organizers say is their largest strike yet in a drive for better pay and benefits. Uber and Lyft drivers plan day-long strikes in Chicago, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Miami, Orlando and Tampa, Florida, Hartford, Connecticut, Newark, New Jersey, Austin, Texas, and Providence, Rhode Island. Drivers also plan to hold midday demonstrations at airports in those cities, according to Justice for App Workers, the group organizing the effort. Rachel Gumpert, a spokesperson for Justice for App Workers, said ride-hailing drivers in other cities may also demonstrate or strike for at least part of the day. Read more.